Hello guys. So we have Rakshit, Swagath, Rishab and Tarun with us. So they are a few CLAT rankers. So I'll give them chance one by one to speak about their journey and how was it. So we begin with Rakshit.
I am Rakshit. I started Black Prep in class 11 itself. And in class 11, I didn't really do that much of prep, but I gradually picked up pace during class 12. Um, with regards to particularly the GK section, we all know GK is very vast. And there was a lot to cover, especially after seeing the 2020 paper, the kind of questions that were asked. So one of my primary sources was Newscanvass itself. Although I didn't cover a lot of the uh, material on Newscanvass, I covered the daily updates and the event analyzed portals. A lot of the events were actually, relevant in that part of that time, point of time. So a lot of the questions actually focused in career launch and mocks as well, and mocks of other institutes. So the the depth in which the events went in were very helpful, like to me personally. Coupled with Manthan, I think that's what really made my GK prep a lot easier and helped me score above 25 in CLAT.
Okay, and Rakshit, how was your overall strategy for CLAT and how did you start your preparation? What were the anxiety levels yesterday? And
Yesterday,
could you please arrange your camera also? We can't see you properly.
is this better?
Yeah, now it's better.
Yeah, so anxiety levels yesterday were at an all-time high. I don't know, I sat from yesterday 2 p.m. to 11:58 waiting for results. But
Okay.
yeah, and then they came, then little peace came. But
Okay. So what was your rank?
I came all India rank. I got an all India rank of 20 and a state rank of 2.
Okay.
Right. So, firstly, congratulations, Rakshit. While you were
Thank you.
speaking about the daily updates, I found, Tarun and Rishabh also nodding. Yes, probably the daily updates helped a lot. Also, while you spoke about, the anxiety levels being all-time high yesterday. So we have it in Hindi. हम कहते हैं ना सब्र का फल मीठा होता है तो बहुत मीठा हो गया 8 सवा 8 घंटे का आपका वेट सबका. But
Definitely.
in fact, 2 p.m. से 12 तक तो it's like 10 hours. So I believe everybody got their fruit because you all worked hard, and I hope that Newscanvass helped you a lot in all that that you're preparing for.
It did.
Okay, Rishabh, your turn. So how was the prep? How was
Hi,
it?
yeah, my name is Rishab Devaiah. I got All India rank 14 and my Karnataka rank was 1. Preparation, yeah, like Rakshit, I joined the 2-year classroom program in CL, but I seriously started preparing mainly after the pandemic. So that was like sort of like a shock for me. It started and then I watched a few toppers interviews and then like, okay, there's so much to do. I have not done all this. So that's when I realized. So basically, I think around 1 year and 3 months or 1 year or 4 months, I've really prepared. Then I'll mainly talk about the GK section. The GK section, like Rakshit said, Newscanvass was a big help. But we obviously had to look at lots of sources because I looked at Newscanvass mainly for their daily updates and the event analyzed. I found them very helpful. And then finally, at the end of towards the end of the preparation, they came out, you came out with a 120 topic list. So I'd already done a majority of the topics. So I just glanced through it to see what I haven't done. So that helped too. And the important thing is the problem with especially with the CLAT 2021 paper, CLAT 2020 was okay because the GK was from relatively important topics, right? So it was okay. But the problem with this paper was it wasn't starkly important topics, and the way they asked the questions were a little weird.
Yes, exactly.
But the reason doing in-depth analysis of a topic helps is because you're not just looking at that topic from like that perspective, you're looking at it from all perspectives. Because that's how Newscanvass helped, and also any like IAS website and things like that help because they give you an overall view. So for example, like they asked you about the Jal Jeevan, I mean they asked you about the Ganga rejuvenation thing. So that isn't something you'll see in news directly, but when you're doing something like the interstate water dispute bill care, so when you're doing something like that, Newscanvass had covered this Ganga rejuvenation thing, and that's how I knew the answer. So things like that. So the thing is, you can't just look at this is an important topic, I'll just do exactly about this topic, what's in news. You have to look at the holistic view, and for that Newscanvass helped. I'll just tell you a few sources that help generally. So like for everyone watching, I've written it down. Newscanvass, I did the daily events and daily updates and events analyzed, but I also saw there was GK Sarthi and all that, but I didn't have the time when it came. Like I was like, okay, this is a lot. Then Drishti IAS, the monthly updates are very helpful, but for someone who's starting preparation now, for the next exam, I'd recommend doing the daily updates too. But this is a little hard, like it's a lot of information, but you have to glean it. You have to look at every day you have to check Drishti IAS and take some time. Okay. Then Manthan 1.2 and 2.0 were very helpful. Then something else I'd recommend is Indian Express Explained. It's a pretty good website. But don't trust the veracity that much because it's not that accurate. There's a lot of like misinformation also, like they get a few numbers wrong, and for CLAT that's super important. So I'd say verify your information a lot. Then the Hindu, especially on Sundays, the Hindu, because on Sundays you get these really important topics and it's fun to read. Then obviously you know that CLAT is going to test you on major topics. This time they didn't do it exactly, but they still did it. Like the Galwan conflict was a big thing. I know it wasn't recent exactly, but the conflict was ongoing. Not the Galwan conflict, but the conflict at the border was ongoing. So obviously you had to know that, right? So doing certain topics in depth and even researching things like, if a topic's there, I'd highly recommend going to Wikipedia and doing it. The reason is you get this overall view. For example, Sheikh Mujibur Rahman came in the paper. Now I wanted to see how Sheikh Mujibur Rahman looked. So I just Wikipedia'd him and I was reading about him. And then I saw, okay, his death anniversary is on August 15th. And then I just remembered it because India's Independence Day. And so things like that, it just clicked. And then it came in the paper like somehow. I never thought it would come. I didn't write it down, nothing.
Okay. So what was your GK score? And
I got only like 26. But the reason was
that's actually a good score. So,
yeah, but the reason was like
where did you lose your score?
So 3 questions I didn't read the options. So this is also something that's very important. So in mocks, what happens is generally every institute mock, like at least Career Launchers mocks, has different options in each GK answer. It's very different. Like each option is very different. So in all English, everything else, you're eliminating, right? But in GK, you search for the right answer. That's the difference. So that's what I did. So I didn't eliminate answers. So I just looked at the question, I looked at the answer, and I saw, like, for example, Ganga rejuvenation was there in three of the answer options. So I knew the answer, but I saw Ganga rejuvenation in one answer, and I didn't even bother to look at the other answers. So that happened in 3 places. And like even the Bharat Biotech ICMR, that is like the easiest sitter. Like anyone knows that question, but I didn't get it right not because I didn't know the answer, because I didn't see ICMR plus Bharat Biotech. I just saw Bharat Biotech. So that's something super important. Read all options in GK, like for CLAT 2022, 2023.
Okay, and which other sections did you think you missed on your score?
My score, math. I was generally bad at math. I was like, my friends know, like Tarun, Swagath, Rakshit, everyone knows I'm bad at math.
So you guys were preparing together. Did that help you all a lot more than?
Yeah, I
preparing
don't think I should talk for so long. We did, like, I'll let someone else.
No, you can go on. So we can go for half an hour. So that's
I think
totally
Swagath can talk about it. We did prepare together. Let Swagath.
Yeah, Swagath was saying something, I believe. And while you were telling Rishab about the groups, group study that you were having, there was a very nasty smile on Tarun's face. I wanted to know that also. Why that nasty smile? What other secrets are there?
Yeah, I think Swagath can go, and then I can tell you the secrets behind the smile.
Yeah, so I'm Swagath Srinivasan. I got an All India rank of 62 and state rank 7. First of all, I'm not going to be as comprehensive as Rishab. I think he's prepared very well for this as well. So I think my CLAT prep basically started in about March or April 2020. Again, pandemic. I've said this to them as well before. The pandemic was a blessing in disguise because we actually started studying only because of the lockdown, only because we found time at home basically. Till then, we didn't care that much. So the pandemic was when we started studying, and yeah, and then coming to the GK section as well. Again, I think just like everyone else, I did Newscanvass, daily events and events analyzed. I think one of the mistakes that I did make was I did pick and choose a bit because I looked at last year's CLAT paper and I thought, okay, they're asking like really important topics. I mean, if you look at last year, it was all national education policy, Rafael, the SEO meet. I mean, all the topics were significant. They were pretty recent as well. So I think I made that mistake of even in News Canvas itself actually, gives you the important events. But then even there, I think I did a little more of, okay, I think this is not that important. And I think I mean, I don't know, because the thing is, I expected the consortium to give important topics, but then I think this year proved that they can give you anything. So I think it's wise to not skip anything, do everything.
Just to come in, this has been every year, okay? Yeah. So we have been doing it for the last 6 years. So we have seen every 6 year, in the past 6 years, there is not even a single year they have repeated what they have done in the past year. Correct. That's how it is, and that's how they make the paper difficult. So it's really difficult to predict how the paper is going to be. Okay. The only thing we have seen is the students who have been preparing in groups have been able to do it because they have been able to give a 360 dimension to all the events they have covered. Okay, so the game is getting the hit rate right. Probably Rishab would have been at 28, 29 if he could have got the remaining 3 questions also, and that would have given him a magical score in GK. Because I think we have been speaking to students since morning and everyone is in the range of 23, 24, 22, 23. This is the first person I heard is at 26. Right, Rishab? 26?
Yeah.
And at 26 also, Rishab said that, I scored a bit low. Matlab, theek hai, 26 hi hai. So
it's sad because it's not like it was a lack of knowledge, so that's why I was a little bit sad. Like it's like a 3.5 because I got all 3 questions wrong. So it's plus, like, you understand.
Somebody else is sad because you perform well. Usko wo seat nahi mili, right?
I think like the group preparation, I'm sure someone else can talk about it, but it was very instrumental in our preparation. Like, so what happened was, I mean, Tarun can talk about like the group and stuff. Like, yeah.
Okay, Tarun. So let's come to you.
So my name is Tarun Ashok. I studied in Shishugara with Swagath and Rishab in 10th grade, and then I went to National Public School in Taranagar. I scored a All India rank of 124 and a Karnataka state rank of 14. First of all, I think talking about the most important thing that Sir also highlighted, group study, I think it really helped me. And it helped me in multiple aspects. One is that is competition. We all know that competition fuels improvement. Be it in economics, or I think even in this situation, it simply fuels improvement. When I hear Swagath's mock score is higher than mine by 2 marks, I know that okay, next time I need to up my game. Or when I know that Rishab beat me in this mock, I know that okay, next mock I need to get my sort of revenge. So I think definitely competition in terms of group study, competition is one very key aspect. Coming to GK, I think obviously, like Sir said, covering multiple aspects because of the group preparation. Maybe Rishab has done a certain topic and I've done that topic as well, and we discussed that on WhatsApp. So that time he asked me certain questions about that topic, and I prepared something completely different about the topic. So at that point of time, when you just have a simple discussion one-on-one, at that point you realize that okay, you haven't covered the topic completely, you haven't covered it comprehensively enough, and you know that you have to do it much more in depth, because the consortium just likes asking important topics in depth. So I think definitely that is one key aspect. And like Swagath and both Rishab and Swagath said, the GK section this time was not entirely the most important topics, the most crucial topics of the year 2020, 2021, but that's just how it is, and you have to deal with it accordingly. You need to make sure that you put yourself in a situation to succeed, no matter what type of question paper the consortium sets. So, and coming to Newscanvass, I think apart from what everyone has said, including Rakshit, I actually relied a lot on monthly revisions, because I felt like I read the newspaper every day, and I took notes from both newspaper and daily updates from various websites, including Career Launcher, including other websites online, and of course the Indian Express online newspaper. So I felt that was sort of my strategy for daily updates. And if I see certain important topics, like Swagath said, in the daily updates of the event analyzed, I'd sort of read through that and take some notes there. But I think the monthly revisions were extremely key, because I just felt more comfortable doing, say, a 120-page document in say 3 hours or 2 hours in a certain sitting, and then making comprehensive notes about that, and then say researching a certain topic more, either to gather the veracity of the information, or just to go more in depth, or just to sort of refresh and recollect. So I think the monthly revisions of Newscanvass were really helpful to me. And they have a nice feature. I mean, you have a nice feature where you can click on the event to sort of read more about it. So
Yeah.
you have that one page, and then if you want to read more about that event, if you think that it's important, and if you think that it's extremely relevant, you can click on it and read. You don't have to sort of keep going through unnecessary loads of information that which might happen in other websites, as like what I've seen. So I think that's one very nice feature that I personally enjoyed. But other than that, I think that's what my GK prep was sort of restricted to. We had certain classes, we had recap sessions both by Newscanvass and Career Launcher, both of which I attended. We had very good GK sessions, which were more than enough to supplement my preparation, apart from self-study.
Okay, so now the
I
next
just
thing
wanted
is,
to add a few points towards what Tarun said.
yeah.
So I
Yeah,
think
Swagath.
it's important that you start out with your sources right now, because towards the end you're going to get bombarded with 150 sources on Telegram, and this WhatsApp chat, that WhatsApp chat, people telling you to study from this source, that source. I think it's important to start from a particular source now and trust that source till the end, because towards the end you just can't do everything in GK. It's impossible. You can't do every single source, you can't cover every single event. You have to make sure that you trust whatever you do, and make sure if you're picking a source, make sure you're extremely thorough with that source, and you have to make notes. Either it can be pen on paper, or copy paste on MS Word, etc. Anything is fine, but there's no point if you're just glancing. You're going to get nothing out of it. It's just a waste of time. You have to make notes, because that's the only way because the important bit is towards the end, especially the last month. You have to revise, just consolidate your notes and make brief notes. It doesn't mean you start writing a thesis on the entire thing. Like, you have to make sure you understand the issue and brief points, so that, and points that you can understand when you're reading it a year later. That's the thing. If an event happens tomorrow, next year, June, you have to know, you have to be able to figure out, what you've written in your notes. So I think that's the important bit. Trust your source and do it thoroughly.
Okay,
And
Swagath. So
also,
I think I'll open it to you guys now. So you guys just guide the CLAT 2022 aspirants on how do they go about preparing for current affairs and for other sections. Okay, so it's up to you guys now. The desk is yours. Come on.
One last thing. The importance of notes cannot be understated. Right, it's the most important thing in your GK prep is your notes. I had 10 books at the end of my preparation, 10 whole books I wrote, and I revised all of them 2 times. That's all I could. I couldn't, in the last month, I managed to revise it twice. And the thing is, it's the only way you'll do well in GK. If you don't make notes, you're not going to do well in GK. I'm telling you, it's not possible. You have to do it. It's necessary. Like what Swagath said is 100% right. And I prefer making very detailed notes, but I found it to be a little counterproductive when I was just I used to take 1 day to do, not the whole day, but I could only do 1 book a day. But then towards the end of preparation, I had to just make it 2 books a day, but Swagath did 6 books a day. So I was like, oh my God, like he told me. And then I'm
Actually,
like,
Swagath, you're doing 6 books a day?
Oh, so I actually just like what it was in my entire like notes and stuff. Towards the end when I'm revising, I made sure I highlighted the notes as well. So,
Okay.
for example, towards the end, like say 3 days, you have to do some under. You can't sit and go through everything in detail. So I always highlight it with green. So I'm like, okay, like if I don't have enough time, these are the points I have to read through. Because towards the end, when you're doing like a second or third revision, you already know everything. It's just a question of looking at it and glancing through it essentially because you've learned it. It's in your head. So that way when I highlight it, I could get through it really quickly. Green was like, okay, it's super important. Orange was more of like what I wrote for my understanding back then. For example, Afghanistan India conflict, repercussions, inference, like what do you make out of it, etc. And I already knew all of that. So I didn't have to look at it again. It was just a waste of time. So that way I could just, quickly go through all the topics. So yeah. And also I made another thing I did was in my notebooks as well, I use post-its on the top of each page. And then I like put the topics that, like, for example, there were like 3 topics that were important. Like you stick a post-it on the edge of the note, and then you just write the 3 topics that are there. So in case you want to revise this one topic and you have no idea where is it in your 10 books, you can immediately just look at the post-its and you can just pick it up. Okay, Mars missions, whatever, just pick it up immediately and then just look at it. Because otherwise you're going to forget. If you say, oh, I'll do it tomorrow, it's never going to come. It's either right now or it's not going to happen. So I think that post-it thing and the highlighting.
I did the same thing.
Yeah, it's important to do what makes sense for you. You don't have to follow someone or anything. And also another thing that I did was I watched there's this YouTube channel called The Print. It's Shekhar Gupta. So he has this series known as Cut the Clutter and National Interest. So essentially, those two helps you with everything, all the way from cross-border conflicts through to figuring out Afghanistan, Taliban, repercussions on India. It just makes you understand the issue, which I think is also important because if you don't understand the issue, there's no point. No matter, you can't just buy out the facts and go. I think understanding it gives you an edge over the others. So I think that series, especially Cut the Clutter, National Interest, helps you a lot. With politics and things happening in India, internationally, and so on.
So how many hours did you guys totally devote for CLAT every day?
I mean, Rakshit, you can go first. We've all been speaking for so long. Yeah.
So initially we had school up till March. So at that time, I gave about 6 hours, but later on it went up to 8 hours. Most of it was devoted to GK. At times, towards the end, I was giving a mock every day. Sometimes an old one, sometimes a fresh one. And so GK was about 6 hours in the end. Because going through the old events, month-ends, then notes, important events, then if someone tells you an event, go through that. So it all accumulated.
Okay, so how many mocks did you attend in total?
I think over the course of 2 years, about 69, 70 mocks.
Okay, 70 mocks. And what was your average score in mocks?
I think I was getting 100 plus in most of my mocks.
Okay, and what was your final CLAT score?
The exam?
Yeah, the exam score.
110.25.
110.25. So almost in the range of the mocks.
Yeah, slightly above than what I was scoring in the last days of my prep. I was scoring 80s in my last years.
Okay, Rishab?
A number of hours. During school, not that many. I mean, maybe 4 hours, maybe. Yeah. Then generally, as a trend, if I say on an average, I studied 7 hours a day. And then like 2 weeks before CLAT, I started like a little bit panicking. And then I'm like, okay, I'm really studying very insignificant amounts of time because I've seen toppers say they study 12 hours a day and stuff like that. So finally I made a timetable and then I could study 11 hours a day. But I did that for 5 days and then I realized I'm just burning myself out. So there's no point doing something that's stupid. Like, yeah, it would be great if you can do it. If you can do it, do it. But I couldn't do it personally. Like I was getting up at 5, I couldn't do that. Like it was draining me. So I said, okay, I stick to 8 hours a day in my final days of prep. That's how it went. My general mock scores. So what happened to me? In the beginning, we all started with like a 75 when the pattern changed, 75 around that much. then everyone reached like, so me, Swagath and Tarun have been like talking for a really long time and we had a group. So I created a group because my father told me about these 3 people who were preparing for CLAT, I don't know in which year, and they all made it to NLSIU. So he said, look, all 3 of you are preparing, make a group, discuss and all that. So I made a group. I called it GK for real, but really not much GK happened on the group. We tried like revision sessions and all that. That wasn't that successful, but it was very helpful for discussing mock scores, general CLAT discussions. It didn't help us revise GK per se, because I think it's more of an individual thing. Like that's something most people have to realize. CLAT is about you, right? People can tell you a lot of things, but at the end of the day, it all comes down to you. Like the self-study is the king. Then what was I saying? I lost track. What was I talking about? Does anyone know?
Okay, we'll come to Tarun
Yeah.
and Swagath, and then we wrap up.
Yeah, I think so. First of all, regarding number of hours a day, I think before, I mean, when I used to have school, I used to just do a little bit before school, so that's maybe 6 to 8 or something in the morning. So maybe 2 hours in the morning, and then about maybe 3 hours in the evening. So it's roughly around 5 hours. And then once we had we had holidays because school had gotten over. Yeah, similar. I mean, roughly around 6 hours a day, I would say. But I would try to make it as productive as possible, right? Like Rishab said, there's no point in sitting in front of the laptop aimlessly for 9 hours, 10 hours, and then saying, oh, and then being so happy with yourself. Like that is just not how it works. You need to make sure you set goals and make sure you achieve those goals. And it doesn't matter whether you achieve those goals within say 2.5 hours if you're extremely productive on one day, or 5 hours if you're not that productive on the next day. So I made sure that I had certain targets every month, and just being very organized in general, I think really helps for GK. Being organized in terms of notes, being organized in terms of sources, limited sources and in-depth knowledge, not just being all over the place, and stuff like that. And my mock scores were always around 105, 110, something like that. And then obviously we reached a little bit higher in between, and then the mocks became a little harder, and it was a general fluctuation in the scores between 105, 110, and 115, and yeah. So, and my GK scores as well in the beginning were about 16, 15, 16, and then in my mocks they came up to about 30 after actually doing lots and lots and lots of prep. So it's really a cumulative effort. It's not just you prepare GK for one day and you expect to get 30 in a mock in GK out of say 36 or 37. That just won't work. You need to put in the number of hours, the number of months of prep to actually reach from say a 15 score in GK to a 30 score in GK. So yeah.
Okay, Swagath, to wrap up, anything
Yeah,
you have
so
to add?
it's fine. I mean, I think it's important not study just based on hours. Oh, I did 3 hours, 4 hours today. I think you have your own goals. What you need to achieve. Where you need to work on. The things you need to get done this week, whether it be a mock and analyzing the mock. Otherwise, don't even bother doing the mock or any like just. I think every day just make goals. Wake up in the morning, just make a list of things that you're going to do today. Don't overburden yourself. Like take a break every week, like Sunday, Saturday, just chill. Yeah, and then just work on those goals. I guess every day I'm going to do these many things, and you have to be consistent. And then obviously towards the end you do a lot of GK, that's 6-7 hours probably, or even more. But then yeah, otherwise until they release the CLAT date, basically it was just okay. Every day I have to get this thing done, this thing done, this thing done, and so on. Just have daily goals, I guess, because where you need to work on. Only you do. The areas where you need to improve, where you need to focus mainly on, so and so and so. So yeah, don't study based on hours, I guess. Don't say, oh, he did 5 hours, I'm going to do 7 hours. Like just make sure you do what needs to be done. That's all that matters. If you do it in half an hour, great. If you do it in 2 hours, it's fine. That's fine.
Okay,
Yeah,
guys.
consistency. I think definitely just to add consistency is everything. If you're able to do CLAT prep for 1 year consistently, productively, and thoroughly, I think that's just brilliant. Like you're bound to succeed almost. So yeah, consistency is definitely key when it comes to CLAT, especially in terms of GK.
Okay, guys, it was great talking to you guys. Hope to see y'all again. So we would want to connect you all to your junior batches also, so that they can get some motivation. So probably I'll keep the group active till we have a session with your juniors, so y'all can just pitch in some time there also to guide them, and we'll keep an open session so they can chat with you guys as well and get some guidance. I hope it's okay with you guys.
Yeah, totally fine. I feel like we only managed to cover GK this session, so like that will help them understand.
The
like,
other parts also.
Yeah.
Probably.
Yeah, I think Rishab can do a 3-hour solo session also.
Yeah, sure. Rishab will arrange one for you if you're okay to share your entire strategy with your juniors.
Yeah, I'm totally fine.
So one thing that definitely caused problems for all of us was the OMR bounding. So like I knew the answer was B by mistake, I marked B. So that costed me like 3 marks in the exam.
Okay.
I think it's the same for all of us. At one point, I was sitting right next to the window. There was one question, great deduction. I got the answer. I marked it. I just wanted to jump out of the window. Like the tension, the blood, you can feel it. When you mark the wrong thing in the OMR. So,
that's why I recommend a strategy of. I never made an OMR mistake because I figured out my OMR strategy. I did a section and then I do the OMR, and I feel like it's especially important for this exam. I mean, because the new pattern, because of the way the questions are. They're all passage based. So when you mark immediately, you're losing your flow. Like at least it happened for me. Some people it worked. Like Tarun did it directly. I did it section wise because I felt like when I read a passage, I want to answer all questions of the passage directly. I don't want to like break. It affected my scores, and then when I changed it, it helped me greatly. And I'd say like, so you do it section wise. So I finished the English section, and then suppose question 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I've got A, B, C, D, E. I mean, there's no E. A, B, C, D, D. Then I'll just say A, B, C, D, D in my head. I'll say it. I will just whisper it to myself while I mark it. So I look at 5, mark it. 5, mark it. That's how I did mine. It worked for me. I think it's a good strategy. Yeah.
Okay, guys. See you all the best. Hope to see you all in your dream NLUs. Probably, I'm thinking you all will be in the same college.
Yeah.
Would try and choose the same college.
Same college here in Bangalore.
Same college in Bangalore. Okay, guys. All the best.
All the best. Thank you for staying with us.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you, man.